Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Burke and Mike Nolman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of the gong means it is once again time for another episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. I'm Mike Nolman.
I'm Aaron Burke.
And on today's episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast, we have yet another pearl of wisdom for our necklace from Aaron, which hopefully makes you a smarter coin buyer. We'll look at someone who wasn't quite so smart as we examine another Doofus purchase. But before we do all that, Aaron is going to take us through some of the highlights from ancient coin auctions that he has an eye on right now. Aaron, what is it that really grabs your attention this week?
Well, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of my clients who have been asking, what's the state of the market? And I think everybody's kind of concerned about that right now with inflation, the dollar, where gold has been. Everybody's kind of waiting for whether or not the market's going to stay as hot as it's been the last few years. I would say just as we're in the middle of fall season, auction season right now, the Roma sale was, I think, still strong. And C&G was last week, and that was also strong. But as I was talking to a client today, I think, and he agreed that the prices were not runaways like we've seen in the last couple of years. There were a couple of silly prices, but in general, I think the pieces went around estimate. Estimates were a little bit high in some places, but I think that in general, the prices were kind of pre-pandemic levels, where still a strong market, but not stupid prices where things were just going through the roof.
So more business as usual, more normalcy rather than pandemic buying, which has it had its own characteristic.
Right. And I would say, I represent a lot of clients in auction, and so I have to give them levels on where they should be to be successful. I do that based on past auction prices and what's come up in the market before, how good the piece is. There's a lot of little variables on that. And in most cases in the C&G sale, except for a couple of situations, I got most of the coins for way under what we were willing to go. In a couple situations, we probably, like one client in particular, I think we only lost like 4 coins out of 14, or something like that. So we seem to be hitting a lot more of our target levels, and so that's a good sign. You could say it's a bad sign. You could say the market is slowing down, but again, I think that clients that are ultra wealthy, a poor market, a poor inflation, or inflation doesn't really affect them. And I don't think they're just going to stop collecting just because there's inflation. If anything, they'll just start to acquire much more material with less competition. I think for those guys that are spending, between $500 and $5,000. Well, no, let me say more like 2,500 to 5,000. Maybe some of those guys might go away a little bit, and so some of those levels will drop. The low levels, you guys that are spending $50 and $100, that's not really going to change a whole lot. So, so I don't think you really have to worry too much. And so, like I said, we are in auction season. The next big ones are coming up. I picked out the Nomos e-sale for you guys that are at the lower end of the totem pole as far as spending. And honestly, I buy a lot of material out of e-sales for me to resell. And there's no reason why you guys can't get some good deals in a lot of these sales. So the Nomo sale, it's Oblos 25. It's going to be October 23rd. It's 999 lots. Some of those are world. And the two that I'm focusing on that I thought were interesting, Mike, if you want to bring up lot 25 in the
Okay,
sale.
lot 25 is Syracuse.
Yeah. So when you're dealing with a very popular area like Syracuse, especially with tetradrams, which for the last couple of years have been extremely strong when they're in high grade. It's one of the most popular areas. If you're going to give up something, in my opinion, you want to give up the obverse, which in this case is the chariot side.
Mm.
And you want to focus on the reverse, because the reverse is really where a lot of the beautiful artistic quality is. A lot of the quadriga and the obverses of these are off center. It's nice if you get both sides, but now you're looking at a much more expensive coin. This has got a beautiful Arethusa side on the reverse, really crisp, clean. Look at the eye. When you're looking at Greek coins like this, when you see the pupil of the eye and how well it's drawn, or in this case, the dies were carved. It's really a testament to how nice these coins were, even in a lower grade. And so, to me, it's okay to give up the obverse. And yes, the starting price was set low for a lot of these. Current bid is already at 460. My guess is this will sell under $1,000. Maybe it brings more, but that's a very nice artistic quality coin for not a lot of money.
I like the
And
Dolphins.
so, yeah, it's an iconic coin and classic Greek in every possible way. So the next coin I want to discuss is lot 176. Very worn coin, but extremely rare coin. This is the archaic. So a lot of these Greek coins, they start out in the archaic period, and they always have incuses. And then as Corinth actually started to develop, then you have figures on the other side, and they don't have the incus anymore. So these very early, this is the beginning of Corinth's strikes. So they're extremely sought after. In high grade, they can go for 15,000. They can go for 10,000. I mean, it just depends on what the quality is. But look, I mean, coin is starting out at 200 Swiss francs and it has no bids. That's a great coin for somebody who would love an archaic Corinth coin. Again, not pretty, but I mean, for a coin that generally costs a lot of money, that's a great coin to buy.
So this one, I would say it loses a little bit on each side, but you have both main objects. You have the reverse, I guess, is on the left, and the incus on the right, and you have a bit of detail on each.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the incus on these doesn't really matter too much. But if that obverse was higher grade, it might, now you're looking at $2,500 to $3,500 coin. If was more superb, it's just gonna go skyrocket. So I just think that when you're looking at coins in auction, and it's a very popular, very difficult coin for most people to acquire, you're going to give up something. And so, to me, this is still a solid coin for the value. If somebody could pick it up for an inexpensive price. And as a dealer, I don't mind owning a coin like this, because I'm always going to have collectors that can't afford to spend, thousands of dollars. And this is the perfect coin for them. And dealers like myself, we like to have coins for all collectors, not just for the high end. Obviously, we make the most money off high end collectors, but we like to serve all collectors, and we have coins for all collectors. And so I'm very conscious of that when I'm looking over e-sales and when we're buying collections. We bought a collection today that maybe there's 200 coins in it, and out of the 200 coins, there's maybe 20 that are really, really nice, and the rest are just kind of bottom end $10 and $20 coins. But I'm happy to own them, because now I can serve those clients, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, this is just a
So,
really good middle of the road solid coin.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but
Right.
the price is fair for it. So I would suggest going through this sale. There's a lot of interesting coins. Obviously it's their e-sale, so it's not going to be their paper version that they put out. So it's going to be lower quality. That's not going to make the paper version, but these e-sales are great and they serve their purpose. So moving forward, the Kunker sale is actually before this e-sale that I just mentioned. It's going to be coming up next week. It's October 18th and 19th, and it's a fabulous sale. And so in this case, I'm going to show you some high-end coins that most of us can't afford, but it's nice to talk about it because you never know if you're going to find something in low grade or in a grade that you can afford. So there's 1,223 lots. They're going to have another sale a few days after this. So it's an amazing sale. And the two coins that I picked out that I really enjoyed seeing was the first coin, lot 4029. Mike, if you want to bring that up.
Mm-hmm. It's a stater.
Okay. It's a stater. It's minted in Lycia, which is in Turkey, modern day Turkey. And it has a general king on the obverse named Pericles. And he was fighting with Athens at the time of the height of the Athenian Empire. Very important guy. And his three-quarter kind of facing portrait is very similar to the coins of Syracuse that have the facing, like the decadrams that have the facing Euenetos and Chemon. And so even has the dolphin. You can see there's a little bit of a dolphin on the right side swimming around.
Mm-hmm.
But just this is by far the finest known for the type. In fact, this particular coin in Coin Archives broke a record for the highest price each time it came up. So
he has a laurel in his hair.
yeah. Does it say? I don't think
No, it
he
doesn't
does,
say.
actually.
It looks like it though. Up, like
No,
he has a
because
laureate wreath.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think his hair. He's more or less looking like Zeus.
Well, I thought he
And then
looked like Jesus, but same thing.
well, that's a bit earlier.
Right.
It's a bit earlier than that. But this is iconic, beautiful art. He was born around 450 BC, and I love this coin. This coin is just out of this world. And you have Mars. Obviously he's a general. He was a great warrior for the Athenians, and so here he's looking like Zeus on the obverse, and on the reverse he's got Athena or Mars. I think it's Mars fighting on the reverse. So the reverse isn't very high quality, but it doesn't matter. It's all about the obverse on this coin.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't sell it quite that short. Look at his shield and how detailed it is.
Yeah, I mean his facial features are gone.
True.
That's the only thing I'm kind of mentioning. But that could just be from wear on the die, because there is some sharpness in some other spots. But the obverse of this, and if you look through different staters from this period of him, they can range from really amazing like this to, kind of without any inspiration in the face, and not very well done. And so again, it's a testament to the artistry of the die cutters that were being hired to do these. And this was by far one of the best examples in existence. So it's just an incredible coin in every possible way.
Yeah, it's stunning, and given its age, I mean, the fact this must have been almost like a presentation strike.
Yeah, I mean, it's just outstanding. So moving on we talked about it last week. We talked about the Chi-Rhos, and we talked about the Silphium plants. And so when I was going through the auction, I happened to see this one. And I've seen other dies of this type, but this is by far one of the best. I mean, it's an amazing coin. And the plant is fantastic. It's early in the strikes of Chi-Rho. Again, these, if you didn't listen to the last show, C&G had a whole run of these, which I ended up buying quite a few for my client, for one of my clients, I should say. And I was really happy with what we purchased and the price levels we purchased. And this is just a fantastic coin. It's by far one of the best examples in existence. It's got a pedigree, I believe, going all the way back down to 1914, or at least from this particular doctor's collection. And it's the Zeus Amon obverse with you see there, he's got a ram's horn.
Yeah, I was noticing that and wondering what that signified.
Yeah, that's Zeus Amon, and so it's the symbol. And in fact, Lysimachus tetradrams also have that same hook in their headdress as well. So Chi-Rho just copied that. But this is just an amazing coin. And again, I was picking up Silphium stators for $800 and $500 last week, and they were really nice coins. So this is just a special coin. That's all. So, and the fact that we just talked about Chi-Rho last week and the Silphium plant, I thought I should bring this one up because I just thought it was so fantastic on both sides.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find a parallel, but I mean these are just really, really high end ancient coins.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that we covered, a little bit of more medium, run of the mill stuff, and then you get to see this. It's fun.
Well, I wanted to point out the fact that you could buy rarities, but you just have to know what to give up when you're going to be going. And the guys that are spending, $50 and $100, they know exactly what they're giving up when they're buying coins. And so, and they're really not giving up because they're getting all kinds of historical value and they're learning a ton. And so, I think kudos to any collector that enjoys the hobby and gets a lot of fun out of any purchase they make, whether it's expensive or cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a credit to numismatics as a whole. So
that's why we're all here.
That's why we're all here. So, let's move on to our Doofus purchase. I always look for them, and this one popped up on me, and it was during the C&G sale. And again, when I usually bring up Doofuses, a lot of times it's because of the slabs. This one has nothing to do with the slab. This is Istris. They're minted in the Black Sea. And this is as common as dirt. This is a very nice one, but it's still common as dirt. We used to buy these things for a couple $100, or sometimes even I could buy, like, when I tell you common, I could sometimes buy 50 of these at a time, back in the 90s. They're very common. Now, when this one sold at C&G in 2006, it brought $700. And so they estimated $750. My guess is that the owner of this coin didn't want to take a loss. And so with the commission that he paid back in 2006, he said, make the estimate what I paid, But here it goes for $3,250, not including the 22.5% new buyer's fee by C&G. They've now entered the 22.5% club. So it's just, this makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's a nice coin, but again, it's not something that's hard. You could find this in most dealers' stocks,
right? Well,
okay.
So here's why it's a Doofus purchase, right? Is because you've taken something that to its own credit is a beautiful coin and it's great, but it's just common as dirt. So this would be like getting, a nice MS65 wheat cent. It's like, right. Okay, there's millions of them out there. It's, not quite that common, but still at the same time for an ancient coin. And it's like, this one has got a relatively big piece missing out of it and a crack. And, but the strike itself is stunning. I mean, the eagle, all the detail on it. And it seems that the eagle has gotten himself a fish.
Or a dolphin.
Or a dolphin. Well, that's not politically correct. So, and I can see where when I first saw this, I saw the faces, and I immediately thought, drama, where you have the comedy drama masks, and that was what I saw at first. I could see this having a very wide appeal, even to people who are not ancient coin collectors, and maybe that's what happened. Is you had a couple of people who just weren't ancient collectors, but had more money than sense.
Right. This it probably represents the Dioscuri, which were twin gods. Most, just so you, for your own knowledge and for our listeners, most theater masks or theater portraits, they actually have a round O in their mouth, like they're talking, they're speaking.
Right.
So that's usually the theater masks. This is probably the Dioscuri, which is copied in Greek, Republican, and Roman art. Very, very popular.
And as I see, that is actually a dolphin that the Eagles got, as is said in the description. That's wow.
Yeah, the scale might be a bit off.
A little bit.
That's a big eagle.
That's an awfully big eagle, or a really tiny dolphin.
Right. It's a minnow dolphin. Yeah. Right. They only come out of the Black Sea, so
you never know. This was a couple thousand years ago. Things were different. I don't judge.
Maybe. So I know some listeners have commented that they don't like the Doofus purchase because they think we're picking on people. I'm not trying to pick on people. I'm picking on the purchase. And the fact is that I don't want other people to make the mistake of buying common coins in auction and way overpaying. You're making the auction house very, very happy, because they're guaranteed they're shaking their heads going, oh, well, and happy to take their 22.5% on top of that. The consignor is happy, but this is an anomaly. It doesn't happen very often. And so when it does, I got to point it out. Sorry.
Well, look, some people see that as a public service.
That's the way I see it.
Yes.
So maybe they don't like the word doofus, but it look like a doofus to me.
You got it. That's the only issue I think they could have with it, is that they think but the fact of the matter is, you got to have something catchy. If you come up with a better name for it, we'll think about it.
The turd purchase.
See, that's the thing, and I could see that happening. The turd purchase of August 2016.
Right. So, and then, somebody gets, you called my purchase a turd.
Yeah. Well, it's better than calling you a doofus, wasn't it?
Right. I mean, doofus is kind of playful.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's said with love, allegedly.
Whatever. So anyway, again, don't buy common coins in auction. I'll say it again. Unless it's okay to buy common coins in auction, but set a level that makes sense.
Well, do a little research. Understand what it is that you're purchasing.
Well, that's the other thing too, is there's so much transparency where you can see where these things are selling for. All you have to do is look up and see what it sold for. Now, okay, it was 15 years ago, but still it sold for 700 back then, which was quite a bit back then, but it's a nice coin. And if they were selling for on average $300 to $400 back then for common nice coins, then 700 would make sense for an auction coin that's common coin being offered.
Well, this went for 5 times what it sold for. So,
right. And again, it's not a coin that's hard to pick up.
Right.
If I bought that, I'm never going to get out of it.
No, it's like
no way.
Well, I had a parallel, but I digress.
Well, anyway, so that's the auctions for us, Mike.
Mm-hmm. And now you have a pearl of wisdom to drop on us, which I like.
Do you want to do pearl of wisdom now, or do you want to go to the educational?
Oh, let's go to the educational. You know what? Let's land on that one first. Let me see. Let's go here, and
I just love ending with the pearl of wisdom. It just makes me feel.
You do.
I don't know.
All right, I'm back on the program.
I'm a weirdo of
a creature of habit. Don't call yourself a weirdo.
Creature of habit.
Yes.
Creature of habit. So, so are you on slide 1?
I got you. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about early Christian symbols on Roman coins, and how they kind of not really how they developed, but where they've, how they started. And you have to understand that, at one point they were all pagans, and then they went from pagans to being Christians. And before they became Christians, they were actually killing all the Christians. So it wasn't so nice to the Christians, put it that way. In fact,
They did kind of
there's lots
change their
of
mind on that.
there was lots of amphitheater scenes of Christians being eaten by lions for sport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember that vividly.
So so the guy who changed it all and is the reason why we have Christianity in the world is Constantine the Great. Now, I assume somebody would have done it, but he was the guy, Constantine the Great. And he was great. He served for, I believe, around 80 years. So he did a pretty good job. Yeah, he lived maybe I'm a little off, but he lived for a long time. And so early on, and there's an old saying that they had during this time period where they weren't really sure, and Constantine kind of ended with it. But before all that, I'll get to that. So Constantine was going to be fighting a war against who was it? Might have been Diocletian. I don't remember actually off the top of my head. But before the battle, he actually looked up in the sky and he saw a symbol that looked like the Christian symbol. And then he had a dream, and he saw the dream that said Hoc Sic No Victor Eris, which means in this sign you will conquer, is what it translates out to. And this was at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. And so in the morning, he had 40,000 troops. And in the morning, he put the Chi-Rho symbol, which is kind of looks like a P and then has a cross. And these are the first two initials of Christ's name in Greek. And so this becomes the symbol for Christ going forward. And this is an amazing medallion. That was a dedication piece, not really meant for circulation, it done in silver. And but it just shows the greatness of Constantine the Great as a whole. And so but it wasn't until, if you go to the next slide, Mike.
Well, it looks like there was a lot of care put into that particular coin. There was a lot.
It was a presentation piece.
Sure.
So if you go to the next slide, this is the first time that Constantine put the Chi-Rho symbol, which is on the reverse, just above the flag there, and you can see the P and then the cross. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the sign for Christ.
Sure.
Who supposedly came and spoke to Constantine. Constantine won the battle, but that was in 312 AD. It took until 327 for him to start putting the Chi-Rho symbols on coins. And it wasn't until Constantine on his deathbed that he actually was baptized as Christian. Mm. And so there's an old saying of live like a pagan and die like a Christian. And so they were kind of like living two sides. They were still living, because this is a weird time period where, it was kind of taboo to be Christian, right? And so, it's interesting that it took him so long to put it on his coins, and the fact that they kind of live like pagans. Maybe it's fun to live like a pagan. I think it's fun to live like a pagan.
I see them as they're hedging their bet, right?
They're hedging their bet.
They're living their whole life like they're pagans, and then at the end, right, they're deciding, you know what, I'm going to be baptized, which means that I'll be saved, and I won't have committed any sin going into, so I'll be assured paradise. Yeah,
that's like the lawyer who screws over their clients every day, ripping them off, and then goes to church at the end of the week, mm-hmm, and decides that they're forgiven for all of their sins.
Sure.
So, same idea. So anyway, going to the next slide, as after Constantine, so Constantine kind of felt that, also being baptized, that would straighten out the whole empire going forward. It took a little while still. So Constantine's son, Constantine II, you can see there's a little Chi-Rho symbol just to the left of the flag. There's a couple captives underneath. So again, they're always showing the sign of the Chi-Rho in wartime, showing that, with Christ on their side, that they will win any war. And so this was minted in this was during when Constantine was Caesar. So this is before he became Augustus in 319, 320. So moving on to the next one. These coins are actually like, they're city coins. They call it a commemorative series, and they were minted in Constantinople as kind of like a state quarter, essentially.
Okay.
They were under the Constantinian family, but they weren't under any particular emperor. They were minted for the city. And here on the reverse, again, you have a Chi-Rho symbol.
Probably the clearest one yet.
And you have a victory as well. Most of these coins I'm showing you are extremely, except for the first one with Constantine, with the first Chi-Rho, most of these coins are under $100, and some are $25 and $30, depending on how nice they are. So they're not expensive coins. Moving on to the next one, you have a coin of Constans. And again, I'm not going to have every Roman emperor, but I wanted to hit some of the early guys. And here you have the figure, probably the emperor, on the reverse of the coin on a ship, and he's holding the flag again that has the Chi-Rho symbol. So it's always after Constantine had the dream, used it in his flags and on his helmets of his warriors, or of military. It was a continued theme throughout the coins going forward after Constantine finally put it on his coins. So moving on to the next one, we have a coin of Vetranio, and some of the Vetranios will actually say hoc sic. Here it actually says hoc sic victo, so it actually has "we will conquer" on the reverse of the coin, and then you have a victory crowning the emperor, who's holding again the flag with the Chi-Rho symbol. So here we're, Vetranio saying it all, using the Christian and being a winner, and that he's conquering all under the sign of Christ. So when we get to the next slide in Magnetius, so if you want to go to the next slide, Mike. Okay, so here now we're already up to 350, 353 AD, and here the flag is gone, and we have a full Chi-Rho on the reverse of the coin, full Chi-Rho. And so that's really interesting that Magnetius really took advantage of using the entire reverse to put Christ's name, essentially. So beautiful patina on this coin. I love the coins of Magnetius. I think they're very cool. And again, if you're collecting early Christian symboled coins, this is one to have. There again, you can pick them up for not a lot of money.
Yeah,
I think they're very interesting.
You can't argue that the Chi-Rho is not like the most prominent thing on this coin, if not for Magnetius himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you get to the Byzantine or Eastern Roman, it's all about Christ and less about the emperor, and as far as like the style. And we'll look at a coin just to show you. So if you go to the next slide, I wanted to show, we did this last time with antiquities. So here we have Chi-Rho oil lamps, and these were minted again in North Africa and Tunisia between the 4th and 5th century AD. And I love this period. I talked about it last show, because you have a lot of pagan period type material on lamps and dishes and things, and then you have Christian motifs as well. And so here we have different variations of the Chi-Rho symbol on an oil lamp. and one of the more popular, obviously, oil lamps to get with Christ's initial on it. And even if you look on the one on the left, the red, more orange one, that's actually the letters of they doubled down. So you have the Christ name, and then you have the first two letters of the Greek alphabet, which is also means Christ as well. So it's like saying his name twice. So which is
Say it
really
3 times
interesting.
in a mirror and watch what happens.
And if you say it 10 times, isn't it Bloody Mary?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's Halloween's coming. That's all I know.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, and it all the way up until, if you go to the last slide, all the way up to the reign of Justinian II during his first reign in 685 to 695 is the first portrait of Christ on a coin. It was the very first time it was ever used. And there's the second reign Christ that looks more like the reverse of this coin. Or there's this issue that has Christ looking like Zeus, very flowing hair and just beautifully done in a very almost pagan like artwork. And so if you're going to get a first portrait of Christ, this is the style you want to get. They used to they were running up to 10 grand. Now they've come down. They're actually soft. And you can still pick one up for as little as a couple $1,000s. It just depends on how nice it is. I've seen them even go for 800. It just depends on how much you want to spend. This one here is obviously a fantastic one, but it took them over 300 years to finally put Christ on a coin.
So, question with this one, because this is a gold coin. My question is, did they mint this coin in other metals?
No.
Okay, so the first portrait of Christ was on a gold coin, and if you wanted, that's okay. It's just interesting to me. So this was a very, very special thing to them at the time.
I mean, he may have some in copper, but honestly, they won't look like this.
Well, no, but I'm just talking about with this design, because you said this was the first depiction of Christ on a coin. I wanted to know if it was made, strictly in gold, which would mean that it was something special to them as well.
I only know of it to be in gold. I could be mistaken, but I have only seen it in gold. And it's actually one of the 100 greatest ancient coins as well for that reason. So,
I know a guy.
So again, I tried to stick with the, Constantinian when it really kind of started with Constantine kind of creating the backdrop for allowing Christianity to take hold. But you can get into the, with this Justinian II, we're into the Byzantine, Eastern Roman period, and you're going to find all kinds of crosses, both on the obverse and reverses of coins, lots of portraits of Christ. So the symbolism for Christ, it's very abundant in the Byzantine period. I just thought it was interesting to pull up the first portrait of Christ because it was the first one done, and how the fact that it took 300 years to get us here.
Yeah.
After the death of Constantine.
Sure. But I mean, that was a really nice timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Yep. So anyway, when you're collecting, you can pretty much pick anything. Today I was like, let's look up early Christian symbols on coins. You can pick whatever you want. If you decide, I want to do it on serpents, you can collect a whole series of serpent coins. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of ancient coins and 1,800 years of ancient coin production.
Yeah, there's bound to be something that circles around what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this brings us to what Mike wanted to jump to early on, which is our Pearl of Wisdom.
Hang my head.
And so Mike and I both see a lot of this kind of stuff in our store constantly, and it is coin jewelry.
Ew.
And you really need to beware when you're buying coin jewelry for many reasons. The two biggest problems I see is the jeweler who will tell you that they won't hurt the coin by putting it in jewelry is a complete joke because you're putting metal on metal. There's no way that you're not going to leave a mark on the coin. And so in the coin business and numismatics, when the piece comes out of jewelry, it's X jewelry. So when you look up a catalog and it says X jewelry, it's because there's marks on the edge or on the edge of the flan or on the edge of the coin.
There are
And so
telltale signs. That's kind of
yeah,
the point, is you can tell it's been in jewelry. And, the reason why we harp on it quite as much as we do is because we look at it as it's ruined this really nice coin. And what would have normally been something that was saleable and collectible has now been trashed for all eternity because there's no bringing it back.
correct. Now, if we get a coin in and it's in jewelry and it's a really beautiful type, and we might pull it out of the jewelry and sell it as X jewelry because now a coin that maybe that might cost $4,000 now is only worth $1,500 or $1,800, and so it gives somebody the opportunity to buy a fantastic quality coin with the problem for a lot less money.
Yeah.
And so the worst thing that anybody could do is pick a major rarity and put it in jewelry because they will destroy the coin.
It has been done. As a matter of fact, I think to a U.S. coin, an 1850s era Charlotte $1 gold piece was featured in an ad as a watch fob where somebody had put a hole in it. And I mean, you're talking about a super rare coin that somebody destroyed.
Right.
And now there's a record of it because there's the advertisement for all of eternity.
Well, and you'll see coins that come out of India during the ancient period when the Silk Road was created, and there was a lot of the Indian indigenous Indian people in India, not in American Indians, but in India. They've always had a fascination with gold, going all the way back to the ancient times, and so the Romans would trade with the Indians for spice and give them gold, and they typically always wore it. And so a lot of really amazing rare, mostly you get a lot of it can be all periods. I see a lot of Severan period type material that comes out of India with really rare reverse types that have 2 holes in it because it was in jewelry, and it's bent and it's destroyed, but it still has saleability because of it might be a $50,000 coin and now it's a $10,000 coin. So
it's still rare.
So even in ancient times, this was done. So if you guys, look, I bought the gold Eidmar that had the hole in it. That was worn. So it does
still
happen.
Rare.
It's still rare. It's still sold for millions, millions of dollars, but it's it's not as much as if it was going to be whole. So if you're going to be making coin jewelry, which there's nothing wrong with, you want to find a coin that hopefully is one-sided, meaning maybe there's damage to one side and the other side is great. So it'll always have a downside as far as saleability. So when you put it in jewelry, you're not really.
But it did to
hurting it too
begin with.
much.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this happens all the time. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have this too. You go up to you're at a coin show and you go up and you see a fantastic coin in somebody's case and you ask to see it and they pull it out and you turn it over and it's got a big test cut on the back, or it's just destroyed in some way from ancient times, and you're like, oh, well, that might make a really nice piece of jewelry. So the other thing you have to be aware of is that when you're buying coin jewelry, the people who make this stuff, they generally, luckily, will buy inexpensive or mid-range coins, put it into an elaborate setting and ask an astounding amount of money for it.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to resell that, most dealers are just going to give you the melt value. They are not going to give you what you paid. And so unless it's like Bulgari, and it has a high resale value, you're not going to get your money back. And so now you're dealing with, we do this all the time. We'll get a tetragram in coin jewelry. we figure out, well, the tetragram weighs 16, it's going to weigh at least 16 grams. So we'll take the 16 grams, we'll subtract that from the overall weight, and whether it's 14, 18, or 10 carat, and figure out the melt and pay the person the price. Pop it out, melt the gold, and sell an ex jewelry coin. And so you just have to realize not to overpay for these things. You're probably better off having it made yourself, but even if you have it made yourself, that can be costly as well. So just be really beware when you go to buy coin jewelry. If you can, if you can get coin jewelry that's already made and it's inexpensive or at least fair, great. But I see these atrocious prices on them, and it's and it people are going to lose out. Now
And
you're going to get a unique piece of jewelry, but you know
and here's
anyway.
an idea for you, something that's a little bit different. Is you can, if you're going to make your own coin jewelry, or you're going to have it made, if you're going to have that expense, recycle a bad piece of old jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
So find an old piece of coin jewelry, because you'll get the coin for cheap, and you can actually rescue this bad piece of jewelry into maybe a good piece of jewelry.
Yeah, and sometimes, not always, because ancients are very difficult to find bezels for because they're all different. But sometimes there are standard US bezels that are made because they can make bezels for US coins because there's a standard size, right? And so sometimes those bezels will fit ancient coins, and they're going to be a lot less expensive than paying a jeweler to actually craft you one.
Yeah, as
So
well, the improvements in technology might make holding certain types of coins easier to do with newer material.
yeah, but still, it's going to have wear and tear like on anything
Oh,
else.
no, no, no. I'm
So
not saying that. I'm just saying that, here's an opportunity for you to do it just a different way.
right. I mean, we just bought from a dealer. He had it's a year 2 or year 3 Jewish war shekel, and it was in coin jewelry. We pulled it out, and the whole edge is filed. The entire edge is filed. And so what the jeweler did, and they don't always do this, thank God, but a lot of times, so this particular jeweler wanted to make sure it fit and probably was close to whatever he created for the bezel. And so he literally filed the whole edge, getting it, wearing the metal down,
Well, his
so
concern
that it
was
would
the
fit the
jewelry,
bezel.
not the coin.
Right. And so, so we're going to sell I don't know if we're selling it for like 1,500 or maybe 1,500 or something like that. We'll probably sell it, or maybe a little bit more. But, these things are selling for, between $6,000 and $8,000. So here's a situation where you're going to get an ex jewelry piece for a representation for 1,500 to $2,000, and it is what it is. But it's, it basically, the coin was destroyed, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd bring it up because we see coin jewelry in the store all the time, and people always expect to get what they paid, and they are dumbfounded when they
Oh,
find out what
they're
they're actually going to get.
absolutely just disheartened because, the
Yeah,
jeweler has taken something that had a value and diminished that, and then he's taken their money in making it and diminished that, and now they have this humongous investment that they're never going to get out from under. So
yeah, and depending on the jeweler, they may ask a huge premium on top of that, and so you got to remember, people who like us who rebuy this stuff, we're not jewelers, we're coin dealers, and
right.
so we don't care about the jewelry. And my dad, years ago, he made a couple pieces of coin jewelry in New York, and none of them sold, and everybody came in and said, oh, I like it, but I'd rather have this, or oh, I like it, but I wish it had this in it. And so we just stopped doing it. We only did it once. We made like 4 pieces of coin jewelry, and then we stopped because, one, we were destroying coins, and 2, people were never satisfied with what we had. And so I would rather, like when people come in, they just say, well, I want to build, what can I get for a coin jewelry? I sell them a coin at the right price. That way they can go to their jeweler and work with them and get the best price. And then they're paying just for the jewelry work, because a lot of these guys who make up coin jewelry, they take advantage of the ignorance of people not knowing about ancient coins, and they put a huge price tag on it, when the coin costs them hardly anything.
Sure.
And so I've literally seen coins of Constantine the Great that are, $75 coin, and they have it in gold jewelry, and they're asking $500. And they're amazed that the coin itself is only worth 75 before they put it in jewelry. Now it's only worth $20 after it was put in jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you're going to keep your price point down if you go to a coin dealer, or if you're just walking around the show, and you see a coin that's one-sided. My dad actually, he wears it's a coin of Philip II, the father of Alexander the Great. Amazing obverse, and it's test cut on the reverse. So he had it made into a ring for that reason. So
And probably did everybody a favor.
Yeah, and that's the perfect piece of jewelry and he gets compliments on it all the time. Instead of somebody, every time they came up to whoever's table was selling that coin, and every time they went, "Oh,
right,
thanks anyway."
Yeah.
Here now they say,
now
"Wow,
you get
what
a better
great piece of
reaction
jewelry."
to it, which is more,
Right.
oh, that's great. Yeah.
Right.
Spread
Right.
joy.
Right. So anyway, that's all I got for you tonight, Mike.
Well, that was a lot. So that was another action-packed segment of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. Yeah, baby. So we'd like to thank everybody who helps us put this together, everybody who does all the work that puts this together, and thank you for listening. We will talk to you next time on the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. So long.
Thank you all. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, please follow our YouTube page. If you follow the YouTube page, then when we post, you'll automatically be notified when new episodes are posted, instead of us having for you to see it on an email or on a Facebook post. It just saves time, and you'll see the episodes right away.
Yeah,
so
you'll see them as soon as we post them.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke.